Health and Nutrition is up for viewing now. Hostess Dr. Lalita Kaul, who is a teaching professor at Howard University College of Medicine. Today, our moderator, Dr. Shambhu Banik and Dr. Lalita Kaul are found in a dialogue titled Sodium, a Salty Subject. Let's take a look.
Good morning. Welcome to Global Television Network's Women's Worldviews Health and Nutrition segment. This morning, we are very delighted to have with us an internationally known author on nutrition, Professor Lalita Kaul from Howard University. Professor Kaul, welcome to Global Television Network's Health and Nutrition segment.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And this morning, we are going to talk about the salty subject, sodium.
Yes.
Why this topic is so important for all of us.
This topic is important for good health as well as in some chronic diseases we have to watch.
Okay.
The function in the body of salt, sodium is very important. We have many electrolytes, chloride, sodium, potassium, all these, and they create a charge. They are like ions. I don't want to go into too much chemical things, keep it simple. So they float around in the body, and they are like, as I said in one of my segments, our body is like a factory, and things are moving here, there, and some condition, then you have to do it. So as such, salt is important in the body. And the more we are talking is that we are consuming lot of salt. In this country, in our homeland or wherever, now we're talking here, we are consuming more than our body needs salt. 1 teaspoon has 23 milligrams of salt. That's our requirement is 2,500.
1 teaspoon?
Yes, 2,300 milligrams. So can you imagine you taking 1 teaspoon all day? That's what is required. The body to keep this electric charge, to keep the extracellular and intracellular water balance. You know, there are cells and there is water outside and there is water inside. And there is a balance there in a good healthy body. So your kidneys function in sync, like and you excrete, but something goes wrong. But if you take too much sodium, and there can be in some people, not all, and there can be edema. Edema is when you retain your water, especially if you have hypertension. That means body is too much sodium, so you keep on getting thirsty. But if you have to drink, sometimes you come from a very salty, especially if you use outside food, it's high in salt and fat, but that's okay. This is not to say don't go and sit home and take boiled vegetables, go, but you feel thirsty, you have to drink water. But it is the excess salt. Again, like cholesterol, we are not saying no cholesterol, no salt, just eat boiled food. Yes, but we mostly use salt not from the shaker, but from in our cooking. So the message is to modify salt intake, even if you are healthy. Now salt, besides using in cooking, is also used in foods to preserve them. You make pickles, and pickles, you have to have salt. I try to make, because my husband would say, can you make pickles without salt? Because he was a cardiologist, he was against salt. I said, it will not happen. He did not believe. So I did. I put the potassium salt. It didn't taste like pickle. I mean, you can put all. So besides in the body, it also used as a preservative. Everyday life, it is used in canned foods, and it is used in vending machines. You have foods when you press. And lot of preservative sodium. And if you or your patient or your friend or anything, they are eating too much ready-made foods, too much canned foods, the sodium is high. If they do not have hypertension, they do not have diabetes and other problem, it may be okay, the body will try to balance by through thirst or something to stabilize it. But overall, it is recommended to cut down the salt in your diet. Now, some people are salt sensitive, and these people cannot take too much salt. They get swelling or feeling full, and also in older age, your body organs are working at a slower rate. The clearance is slower. Now, what happens in postmenopausal women? It is majority. I'm not saying all. Majority of women after menopause retain more water. So you have to cut the salt in your cooking. Firstly, I tell everybody, without tasting the food, don't shake the salt. If you notice when you are eating out in cafeteria, restaurant, first thing before tasting, they are putting. So cut the shaking, first taste the food. And salt is an acquired taste. If you have been used to eating very high salty food, and then you eat very low salt, it takes you a while, but you can adjust, it's an acquired taste. So postmenopausal women, then we want the hypertension. Even though we have all the medications, diuretic, there are hundreds of medications the doctor will prescribe. And some people think, well, I'm taking medication, what do I have to worry about salt? No, you do have to. Because you have to restrict your salt intake. There have been many studies done. There was one study done in Japan where they took low salt and they saw the curve of their hypertension, like this. The moment they moved to Hawaii, they started using the local food, and you see the curve going up because you're beginning to acquire the taste. So for hypertensives, even though you are taking medication, you are taking diuretics, you should take low salt. I will not say that take saltless food, that will not be feasible. We want to also enjoy, but cut down moderation for hypertensions. And any heart disease, like in congestive heart failure, where the heart is not working at a regular rhythm and the efficiency of heart is dropped somewhere from 100 to 30%, 40%. There are people walking around with us, and they have to cut down the salt because salt will hold water. And in old days when we didn't have medications, how they controlled the hypertension? There was no medication and the blood pressure was going up. They gave these people Campner's diet, and Campner's diet is rice, fruit and vegetables. They are natural sodium, they don't have. They were supposed to eat rice, fruit and vegetables, their blood pressure came down. But then we started having these medications. So again, when I see the patients, I see their blood pressure is high, their diabetes. So if you have arrhythmia, heart is not syncing in the regular rhythm, you cut down the salt. And now the salt is, some people have to go on a very low sodium diet, which is very hard. But we want to try to see Americans go to 3,500 or 4,000 milligrams, but that's not happening now. I mean, how many times we are at a place you are, feel like a knick-knack and you cut it. You press the button on the vending machine, you get a snack. Always read the labels. Always read the labels, because sometimes they are misleading. Anytime, not of course doesn't apply to fresh fruit, and anytime you buy canned food, ready-made packaged food, look at, I'm so much, like in winter, I love to have soups. So I go to the soup thing and I say, it's very nice. I just put the hot water over the noodles, but you know how much sodium they have? 1,000 something milligrams. So I said, oh God, by the evening I go home, I'll be so bloated. Again, this is not to say it is with everybody. This will have different people different. Younger people may not, they just take it. But if you acquire the taste early in life, taking a low, just naturally putting a little less salt, and you can use herbs, you can use anything, but make it a habit. Usually, I just as a habit now use salt, but in a moderate. So when my family comes, they're all sitting with the shakers. So, but I mean, I'll put more salt for parties, but take salt in moderation, don't give it up. Sometimes it's in the body, we are not metabolizing salt. There may be, now about the salt substitutes, people say, well, without consulting a physician, sometimes physicians may not know too, because it's only recently 10-15 years where including nutrition in the medical curriculum. That's why I hired how, when you talk to patients, how do you incorporate nutrition education? Because patients want to hear from the doctor, and the patients say, well, my doctor said don't do this. It carries more weight if the doctor says rather than somebody else says. So look at your labels, the packages, how much sodium it is. Then they have various terms, low salt, it has to be less than 5 milligrams. Then sodium added, all these things, look at those numbers. When they start going over 500, it's a high salt diet. So you have to decide whether you'll say, well, I don't have any problem, I don't have hypertension, I want to eat it, it's fine, nothing will happen. But if you already have chronic disease, you have hypertension, you have diabetes, you might have arrhythmia, you might have congestive heart failure, you say, no, let me take which is more innocuous, something maybe sweet is better if you are not diabetic. So that's why I wanted to talk about this subject, to make you aware of the sodium. Again, the important message is that do not say that sodium is bad and completely ban it from there. Take it in moderation. Now, pickles are very high in salt. We like to, I know somebody who would cook salt-free diet. This is the actual case, salt-free diet, and then it was bland. What this person will do is put the whole half a jar of pickles, so I look like that. And then I said, well, oh no, I said, pickles, if you had put this salt in the cooking, it would have same thing. But you could take 1 teaspoon of pickles. So the thing is to learning to do in balance about the sodium. And then if you take sodium substitute, don't take it on your own without consulting a doctor or a licensed dietitian, nutritionist, because these salt substitutes are made from potassium. Okay, now if you have condition that you cannot clear potassium from your body, then by taking a salt substitute, you're doing more damage to the body. And so just either you can always, there's so much information on the medical sites, health sites, or your physician, do not take salt substitutes on your own unless, because your doctor will know if you have some problem with clearing potassium.
What is the difference between sodium chloride and potassium chloride?
They are two different electrolytes. Sodium is Na, sodium. You call it sodium or salt, same thing.
Right.
Potassium is K, chemical name, which is potassium. And they have different functions in the body. Potassium is very important in the rhythm of the heart. And so we don't want potassium deficiency. Now some people who have problems with kidneys, or some people who are diabetics, and usually happens, if it gets complicated, kidneys get damaged, and they have potassium surge. So you don't want to take salt substitute. I have had some difficult patients with hypertension, diabetes, kidney problem. There's so, with the kidneys, there's so many no foods. You can't take legumes, you can't take dals, because they are high in potassium. You have to take low potassium, low salt. So I had to really taking into account the likes and dislikes of the person, because otherwise you have to soak your vegetables in a quart of water to get that potassium out. And we have complicated cases, but in every day it's okay. But before, my message is, before you go on salt substitute, talk with your physician or his assistant whether I have any potassium. always take a copy of your lab work with you. Sometimes you're talking, I have my patients bring their latest lab report and any other medicines, write it down. So I hope my today's message to take away is take salt. It is a good thing we need in the body for the factory. We have to keep on running, but we need salt in the body, but in moderation.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Kaul, for enlightening us with the salty subject this morning.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure with you.